Hey, how you doing, everybody? What's going on? This is the Orange Mic. I am Kirk. Thank you again for tuning in for another great episode. Today, we're going to have an episode talking about a few topics. And like we always do on the show, we have conversations about specific topics that are about, provocative or informative or even hilarious conversations that we're going to have. So, with our guest today, I want you all to please welcome Jermaine.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
What's going on, man?
Yo, I'm here, man. We out here, man. Just trying to survive this whole COVID situation.
Oh,
and
Lord.
Stuff. My God. Lord. God.
What's a dilemma, eh?
You know what I mean?
It is something. It is something. We here, I guess we could talk about it. We talk about COVID and stuff. It's, it's not something I really like talking about because, we have our research that we've done. We know what's up. We know what's the agenda. And we're like, okay, when's it going to end?
Right.
Because, your agenda is out there. We all know.
Yeah.
So
things are going to turn a certain way, so I get it.
Yeah. It's like, but we also have that power as a people to wake up and speak up and push back, right?
Right.
So, but what I have noticed, I might also get into it, since this whole thing started, I was quite shocked and disturbed when I seen rising cases of, domestic violence or divorce situations or, substance abuse or anything, suicidal rates. There's just so much mental health issues as well that I've seen happening throughout this entire year.
Yeah.
And it's been really disturbing. What do you think about all that?
Well, all right, let me kind of introduce so that everybody gets context.
Let's go. Yeah, let's do that.
You know
Why not? Why not?
So, I'm a registered social worker.
Yes.
Right? I work, just as a caveat, I work in the school board, Toronto School Board. I also do fitness on the side as well.
Yeah, man.
Good life fitness and stuff.
Yep.
But my passion has always been centered around mental health, especially mental health in the Black community. So it's funny how this year has been such a wild year.
Yep.
I mean, social justice, all that type of stuff. But COVID's been the underlining thing that's really exposed, I would say, a lot of the things, or not even exposed, but I would say really unearthed a lot of things concerning mental health and the whole nine.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, right? Well, let's look what COVID's done, right? COVID has systematically isolated people from their normal routine. Right?
Yeah.
And on top of it, people are losing their jobs. And obviously, if you're losing your job, you're not getting the money, to even pay for basic stuff.
Yeah, man.
Driving to work, actually, they were talking about a rise in people needing food banks and stuff. There is a huge spike.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy, right? But again, what COVID has done, especially when it comes to mental health, is that it's compounding the reality of how huge mental illness is out there, right?
Wow.
Mental illness is definitely one of those things that more and more people are talking about it.
Yes.
But it is the silent killer.
I believe that.
Right? It's the silent killer, and it's somewhat the unseen killer.
Ooh.
Because when a person goes through trauma, and let's look at different ways how trauma affects, or different examples of trauma.
Yeah.
So let's look at toxic relationships, right? So you mentioned how domestic violence spiked up.
Yeah.
Right? Well, I'm not saying COVID is the cause of it, but what it has done is exacerbated the situation.
That's
because,
true.
Again,
that's true.
If you're in a home with your significant other who's had issues from before and not seeking help or not getting help, then the life of the spouse or anybody around that is going to be more so in danger, right? And that's where you see the cases going up.
Yeah.
Let's look at unemployment, because it is a traumatic experience when you talk about.
Completely.
unemployment, right?
Yeah.
Because what comes after that is that, well, how am I going to pay my bills?
Yeah.
Right? I have medical issues. How am I going to pay for my meds? Right? How am I going to get a roof over my? How am I going to get food on the table?
Yep.
That's a stress.
Yeah.
Those are traumatic experiences where you're working so hard.
Yeah.
And that for that to be taken away by something that's not necessarily your fault. And
Exactly.
yes, don't get me wrong, there are supports that are out there, but again, not everybody has access to that support.
No.
Right? And at some point you're going to pay that back.
Oh.
You know what I mean? So it's not like it's free money.
It ain't nothing free.
Right? So, those types of stressors are there that weight on top of the mental illnesses that you're having to deal with. For me, I always talk about this, especially I'm always interested in mental health for men.
Yes.
Because, and I had this conversation with somebody last week, but men's mental health is one of those things that it's not that it doesn't get talked about, but it has to be talked about a lot more. Because men, for the longest time, have had to hold in mental health, a lot of their traumas.
Yeah.
From time.
Yeah.
So, give you an example. When you look at men and mental health, it's easier for us to talk about things like cars.
Okay, of course.
We can talk about sports.
Sports, yeah.
We can talk about
girls.
We can talk about
movies, whatever.
Movies,
clothes, yeah.
fashion,
Music
and
too.
Music, of course. And then there's political ideologies, all that type of stuff.
Yeah,
right. Those are the easiest things, right? Because technically you can control those things.
Yeah.
Right. You can use your money to buy a car. Some men are quote unquote trying to control their women, right?
Yeah.
Sports are something like you can somewhat control, like it's manual, right?
Yeah.
However, when it comes to your mental health, when it comes to your mind, right, it's not the easiest thing to control.
Oh,
a lot of people have, especially when they're going through stuff,
yeah,
right? Dealing with anxiety, dealing with like things like depression.
Yeah, it's real.
It's real,
Very
right?
real.
But again, we don't want to really address it because the last thing we want to do is look like we're weak.
Yeah.
See, that's the toxic masculinity piece, right? Because toxic masculinity will say, well, it's like man can't cry. You know what I mean?
Or it shouldn't cry.
Or shouldn't.
You're just going to look like a weakling.
Exactly.
Sure.
Like, you don't want to be looked as a pussy.
Yeah,
exactly. Probably my language for,
Make it plain.
Yeah,
Make it plain. It's all good.
You don't want to look like you're the weak link, right? Because what happens is that when you're looked at the weak link, you will be isolated.
Completely.
You'll be made fun of.
Yep.
Girls don't want to talk to you. Guys don't want to hang with you or anything like that.
Yeah.
Right? So you're already isolated.
Yeah.
When you're looked upon as quote unquote emotionally weak. But that's a myth.
Completely. Right?
Because when you have to deal with stuff, when you're dealing with the trauma of, let's say, for example, you've been beaten by your parents like mercilessly. Like, I mean, listen, we get slapped up. You know what I mean? Like we get spanked and all that type of stuff. But like there's that, and then there's the abuse.
Yeah, that's another level.
That's another level.
Completely. Oh my god.
But enough men have dealt with that.
Yeah.
Like, how many men's have, like, they don't want to talk, hardly don't want to talk about, but a lot of men's have been sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
Right? Men and women.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
They've been sexually assaulted. The amount of times where what they are received in terms of messaging is that, you know what, you're no good. You're not worth it. And it's the repeated messages, right? And so it's easy for a guy to be like, well, if no one's going to look out for me, then, screw it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, I'll just take matters into my own hands. You know what I mean? Like, I've developed such a thick skin that, like, I'm not even going to cry.
Yeah.
I can't, it doesn't make sense shedding a tear because no one really cares about you. You know what I mean? Like, these are mental health things that we carry around that we shouldn't have to carry around.
Oh, no, we shouldn't. That's for sure.
You know what I mean? But again, because of it, the outliers, or pretty much the manifestations of not dealing with the traumas, is that it affects everyone else.
Yeah.
I'll use a sports analogy here.
All right.
So, So for those of you that are watching this is where you'll know how old I am.
Oh no! Don't give it that up.
But I remember.
It's not that old either.
I know. But if anybody's watched football, you remember Junior Seau?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
So now Junior Seau,
Yeah.
one of the most feared
my God.
linebackers, Hall of Fame
Crazy.
linebackers of his time.
Crazy.
Like, it is crazy. Like, who was?
I seen him pancake guys off the line. Like crazy.
That's what I'm saying, right?
No.
Like, he was actually one of my favorite players.
Yeah,
I don't even
yeah.
watch football, but
Yeah.
Junior Seau
Yeah.
was one of those dudes.
Yep.
Man shot himself.
Yeah.
Right?
I remember that.
Man committed suicide.
Yep.
And a lot of it was because the traumas that he had, because it's like the head traumas, right?
Yeah.
Which also exacerbate, mental health and stuff,
course.
right? But these are things that he's had to live with silently, because again, when you're dealing with like concussions after hit, right? It causes you to lose memory.
Yeah.
It can up your anxiety levels.
Completely.
It can up your depression levels.
Yep.
Right? That's some of the stuff that no one else saw. That's the thing. Not a lot of people saw some of the issues that you've had to deal with. That's why I said, when it comes to mental health, it's a silent killer.
Yeah.
Because you hold that in.
Yeah.
And I know you got a question, so let me just finish
No,
this up.
no, it's okay.
All right.
This is what we're here for, man. That's what the mic does, man. Make you want to talk.
It's true.
The
Also,
orange
look a
mic.
drink, but like, all right, we're gonna leave that. We're gonna leave that.
Yes.
But but one of the things is that when it's a silent killer, no one knows. And when no one knows,
Yeah.
right, then if you don't know like what I'm going through, you're not gonna ask
No.
if I need help.
Like you won't know what to ask even to get to that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of the stuff that men
Yeah.
in general
Yeah.
deal with. We are holding stuff in that we really shouldn't hold stuff in. But because society expects a certain way from us,
Yeah.
even especially black men,
Yeah.
because they expect a certain way from us, we're holding to that standard
Yeah.
while killing each other and killing
Yeah.
everybody else at the same time.
Yeah. You know what's funny with the Junior Seau situation? I do remember sometimes he had some on the field issues.
Aye.
Yeah, and then that started to shed a light on why is he acting out like that in certain things, like his anger or his reactions to a certain play or a non-call or a call. It was something I saw, and I'm like, oh, you don't want to get that guy mad,
Right. Right. But again, it comes back to at the time.
Yeah.
Because football, I think sometimes becomes the microcosm of what masculinity is, how it's supposed to be
Yeah.
portrayed.
You gotta be tough. You gotta be able to hit someone, take a hit.
Well, that's the thing. You take a hit.
Yep.
Hit back. You have to conquer.
Yep.
You
Yep.
have to win.
Yep.
You have to pretty much be on top, almost by any means necessary.
Yeah.
That's what masculinity, toxic masculinity, is. You have to be the most powerful being on the face, regardless if it ruins everyone else. You're there to win at all costs.
Yeah.
You're there to dominate at all costs, right?
Yeah.
But because of it the sad part about it is that not everybody is there to dominate. Not everybody is built to quote unquote dominate, nor they should be, right? And because of it, a lot of men that are portraying a certain way are struggling.
Yeah.
Like they're struggling with their own depression.
Wow.
Right? But again, we can't talk about that because I'm going to look at you sideways.
Yeah. Yeah. If
you tell me
you know about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just like if I find out Kirk's like, yo, I'm struggling with like some sort of addiction.
Yeah.
Or like or some sort of eating disorder,
Yeah.
because that's also in line with mental illness. If you're struggling with those things, chances are, if I'm that guy that's like looking, it's like, yo,
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah.
Like I don't know if I could like, hang.
hang.
Like if we can't really,
No.
we're not in that level right now. You know what I mean? Like
Nope.
I don't know about that. That's too much for me.
And the funny thing happens with that, then those weird locker room jokes happen, and that's we call them locker room jokes. Not literally always in the locker room, but it happens in a way that maybe I've told you that in confidence, and somehow now it comes out to another teammate or someone else, a friend.
Yep.
And now when the guy say, hey, we're going to get something to eat. And I'm like, whoa, wait. No, we're not going to bring you because you have an eating disorder. We don't want you to come. You might get fat off of like salad. And
Right.
it's like,
Yeah.
And that can hurt. Like that one statement alone is like, how can I lose? I gain weight from salad. Like,
Yeah.
I told you that in confidence, and you go tell everybody. Now you're joking about it in front of people. How you think that makes me feel?
Exactly.
And whatever I was already, that level I was at when I told the person in confidence. Now, after all that coming out, my level has gone even lower.
So, see, hold that thought right there.
Yeah.
See, which again, one of the things that I'm not saying going to prevent men from seeking help.
Yeah.
But one of the things that's important is that whole trust factor, right?
Oh, wow. And men already have an issue in trusting.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Because really, we can't. It's survival.
Yeah.
Out here in these streets, it's survival.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, fine. I can hang out with you or whatever, but like, I have to get to a point where I can trust you, basically emotionally, for me to like be like, all right, yo, I'm like, I can talk some things.
Yep.
And that trust factor emotionally has been conditioned.
Yep.
Right? It's not so much something that it's been innate. It's something that has been learned.
Yep.
That quite frankly, you can't trust nobody. You really can't.
It's a thing. It's a statement.
And the trust factor, I will say, it's a huge spectrum.
Yeah.
Right? Because, for example, you me play music together.
Yep.
So, you me got a gig, right? And you need me for a gig. I'm gonna trust you. Be like, okay, the gig's gonna be worth my while.
Yeah.
Get a little change.
Yep.
We're good to go. That's one side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Because there's that trust. But there would have to be a deeper trust.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's like, listen, like, I just lost my grandma, and I'm being very paranoid. It's bringing up a whole lot of like insecurities in my life. You know, I need somebody to talk to.
Yeah. Rest in peace. Yeah.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man.
But it's one of those things. Can I trust you in that way? You understand what I mean? Because again, trust is a spectrum.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
You can trust certain people for certain things because it meets a certain need.
Yep.
But when you dig deeper into it, you'll find out like who you can actually trust.
Yep.
Right? And again, when it comes to mental illness, that's a huge barrier.
It is.
Because even when we always talk about, like, for example, things like, okay, well, they need to see a therapist.
Yeah.
Do you know how much it takes for even a guy to say, okay, yeah, I think I need to see somebody?
Yeah. Much less pick up the phone and pick a phone call.
That's what I'm saying. Because you're trusting somebody. Like, men or have already had to deal with judgment anyway, right? They're already being judged. And I'm going to say this, black men, because, listen.
Yeah,
black.
make it plain.
Okay?
It's what we got to do. Yep.
Like, it's hard for black men to trust anybody, let alone, like, they can't even trust their own family.
Yep. Sometimes they can't even trust themselves.
Right. Right.
Right. They put themselves in a situation that they know they're weak in, and instead of like saying, "Okay, I know I'm weak in this situation. I clearly know, like it's no secret, but I'm just gonna go over there and
right.
You can't trust yourself. You can't to make the right decision to stay away from it.
Right. And this is the stuff that again, like when men can't even like trust, say, like an objective opinion.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not always pushing therapy, because I've learned that, even we as therapists need a lot of work in helping our clients. But since we're pushing this narrative, people have to understand how difficult it is to find somebody that they can trust.
Ooh.
Right?
Ooh.
Here's
a touchy one right there.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's a little bit of a revealing moment, right? There was at one point, I think last year, I actually decided, you know what, let me go see a therapist, or let me see a counselor. Because one of the things that came to mind, and somebody said this, I think it was Charlemagne. Charlemagne the God. He said that, you know Respect. What, we go to our doctors, to check our physical bodies.
Yeah.
Why can't we do that for our minds?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Our mind is more powerful than our bodies.
Completely.
Right? Why not at least see somebody just to get like a mental checkup?
Our mind rules our body.
Exactly.
Yeah. So why not?
So therefore, it's important to at least be able to have somebody to help you just, okay, are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you dealing with anything?
Just check.
Just have that checkup. Never hurts.
Wow.
So I decided, you know what, let me do that. Right? Now, the lady that I was dealing with, she was okay. right? And I'm not gonna say like she was bad or anything like that,
Yeah.
but I also realized that even seeing that therapist, she was cool, but she was white. Nothing wrong with white therapists, but here's the thing:
Relating. Yeah.
For me, there are certain nuances that I mention and talk about that I need somebody to understand.
Yeah. Yeah. You
Right?
just have to relate.
You just gotta have to relate. Yes, you're nice. You're willing to listen. Walk me through some stuff, which is cool. And anybody that chooses whatever therapist, that's up to them.
That's fine.
I'm just saying for myself, I choose somebody that pretty much looks like my color, because more than likely they'll understand culturally certain things that have happened.
Yeah.
And where I've grown up.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
And there's really nothing wrong with that. But again, I say
really.
that just because of the fact that it's important, if we're pushing the whole therapist, seeing a counselor, all that type of stuff, it is important to ensure that you're seeing the right one. Because
of course.
if you're not careful, sometimes you meet up with the wrong one, and that person never comes back.
Nope.
Never.
Nope.
No matter what happens, no matter what they're dealing with, they will not ever come back. Therapists have to always, and I say this myself, therapists need to treat clients who come in for the first time as if it was their last time.
Wow. I've heard that statement
what I mean?
said a little differently, but it's the same content.
It's the same thing because you don't know if that interaction will literally be life and death.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
You need to make sure that, like, as a therapist, whoever you deal with, this may be the first time coming. Don't be their last.
Yep.
Because if that's the case, we don't know what's going to happen afterwards. Because we've already seen too many men, go ahead and pretty much dead off a bunch of people, like running over people with a van. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And
we already know that.
That's just being tried now.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's, again, coming back to the whole mental health aspect. Yeah. It is something that nowadays, especially in light of COVID, in light of like the social unrest that still continues to permeate, particularly on Black bodies, it's important that there be better support within our community. Yeah. Right. And what I mean by better support, like there has to be, people have to feel safe to talk about mental illness, to talk about their anxieties, to talk about their not just their anxieties but their depression. Be free. Their eating disorders, their addictions. You know what I mean? Because when a person feels safe to talk about themselves, then there's a greater chance that they can be directed to the appropriate supports.
I was just gonna say that. All this would be great. All the talking about being safe, but then without the actual resources and the support and the end result to help them get out of it, like successfully. Yeah. If that's not there, it's almost defeats the purpose.
Well, it's interesting because, again, for Black people, right, it's a lot more difficult. Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. There are supports that can be accessed, practically free of charge. Yeah. But generally speaking, to see a therapist, you're looking at, on average, the range between about $150 to about $250 an hour.
That's an hour,
right?
Wow.
Now, now let's do the math on this, right? Wow. Black people within Canada, income-wise, are probably among the lowest next to Indigenous people. So take that in for a second, right? And because of it, we're already having to deal with a lot of traumatic experiences within our community and outside our community. Yeah. Where's the money coming from to see a therapist?
Especially one of our own, too.
Right, exactly. Because access to even therapy is a difficult situation. Oh, my God. Because some people don't even have, like, the insurance. Because here's the thing. Depending on what company you work for. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Right, so if you work a government job or something like that, then, you have some benefits where, like, you can pay, a certain amount of sessions and you'll get that money back and you're good. Yeah. Right? So that's one thing. But not everybody has that. Nope. Right? Some people are just working, like, factory jobs. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And you get what you get.
You get what you get.
Simple as that.
And now you're telling people who are going through traumatic experiences, right, who don't have like really well paying jobs
Yeah.
to seek a therapist.
Yeah. With that kind of payment.
Right.
Oh my God.
Like it's hard enough as it is. There is a
Yeah.
reluctancy, and again, it's not to say that they're not
Yeah.
free clinics or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just looking at how access to mental health for certain groups
Mm-hmm.
are not are a lot more difficult
Mm-hmm.
for some more than others,
Yeah.
and that's some of the things that even for me we need to address.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How can we as a community begin to help each other,
Mm-hmm.
you know, lift up each other and dismantle not just the stigma, but
Yeah.
also the system, right, that continues to oppress Black people,
Mm-hmm.
you know, especially when it comes to their mental health.
Man,
You
it's so deep. You know what? You mentioned something earlier on that kind of touched a chord in me. Because of course you do social work. I do social work as well, but I do a lot more. I guess maybe I'm not sure if it's more, but young people and the youth and
Yep.
the very young ones is my so-called passion to work with young people to help them
Mm-hmm.
through sports, music, and entertainment, of course, and you know. But there's a situation happened years ago. It was one of the most, like, to this day, it hurts. It hurts, and the whole situation where I was working with some young people, and as a youth mentor, I make myself available to them. I might let them know, hey, listen, anytime you need to talk, you know my number, call me. I don't care what time it is. If you have to wake me up, call me. And I know why I say that to certain young people, because I understand what they're going through.
Right.
And if they don't have someone to speak to, they end up making bad decisions.
Exactly.
Now, this was one of the extremes for me. You know, this is a little bit sensitive.
Yeah.
Working with this particular young person, you know, for some time, helping him, you know, get on a straight track, and it was going well. In and out of, you know, juvie and all kind of stuff, and finally trying to find a way to stay in a foster home to stay stable, and it got to a point where, you know, there's a certain situation happened and it just escalated, and he couldn't last, I guess, as long as I was hoping for.
Right. Yeah.
And what the problem was, like, based on what I've already expressed to them, but if you need to call me, please do so. I had that call. It was around 2:33 in the morning. And it was a really, really hard call. He called me, and he was trying to say, hey, coach, how you doing? I'm like, I'm good. What's up? You know, I'm waking up, and I'm like, okay, hey, what's up? What's up? How you doing? Where are you? 'Cause I heard it in the voice. Something was up. Just trying to find, where are you? What's going on?
Yeah.
Are you alone? Are you home? Are you
Right.
on the street? What's going on? Are you sober? Are you? I'm trying to ask all these questions, but he wasn't really trying to answer all of them. He's just trying to, you know, call me just to say, hey, coach, I just want to tell you, man, you're the only one that was there for me. You're the only one that talked to me. The only one that was that supported me and never gave up on me. And I'm like, I hear you. I hear you, man. I'm always here for you, man. That's, you know, where are you? Let me come and meet you. Because I had that feeling something was not going to end well. And I started to try and find out where are you, so I was trying to get dressed and hoping you would just say, I'm here. This is where I'm at. And just so I'll start flying. I don't know how I would get there. I was just going to get there. And, you know, he kept on saying certain things. And because of the mental health issues he was going through, he made the decision to take his life right there on the phone.
Yeah.
And, you know, he had a gun with him, and I heard everything. And up to the silence, and it stopped me dead in my tracks. I didn't know what to do.
Must have been deafening.
What? Because it was right there. I had the phone, and I had an earpiece on too.
God.
So I was numb. I knew my hearing wasn't very good for a little while, because it was right there it was in my left ear, actually. And it was tough. It was real tough to deal with, and it's one of those things I carry, because people like us, we work with people who need somebody there for them, and you know, and going through stuff like that, like, what do you do now? Like, as a counselor, what do you do now for your own mental health.
Oh, yeah.
Like that was another piece. So, you know, I had to deal with finding any members of the family, as distant as they were, and the foster home, and even his agents that was helping him get get placements and stuff. It was really tough, and that's a young person in their teens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's a teenager. We're talking about like mental health in like men, black men, and you know we know everybody has mental health issues, but we understand that there's a mandate that we have to talk about with our own kind, our own men, our black men. We have a different weight that we have to deal with, and then counseling other people.
Yeah.
We have to now deal with all these cases and situations, and more cases. It's like multitude of people. For me, I know it's a lot. It's a multitude of young people. If I have a regular working week, I believe all my classes. I believe I have well over 400 or 500 kids.
Yeah.
If I put it all together, that I deal with in a week, and there's many issues I have to deal with. All those mental issues. These young people, men and women,
Right.
and sometimes the youngest kids, and then I have to deal with their parents, their families, or their
It compounds.
oh my gosh,
It's a compounding situation.
It continues, and it goes to the level of like, you know, sometimes I have to go to their school, or I've actually had to go into their house.
Yep.
And try to be some type of a
mediator. Yep.
you know, and it's very strange. And then it's like you see where a lot of it stems from too, in those situations, which is really hard. So
it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah,
like
it is.
It really is a vicious cycle, because again, you know, we talk about like we ask ourselves, how in the world did we get here?
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
How in the world is it that like all this is starting to blow up? Well, again, there were things that we've had to deal with for a long time,
yeah,
right? You know, for black people, I was mentioning this to Mo. You know, for black people, for centuries, we have been conditioned to basically survive in oppression, right?
Man.
We've had to learn how to stand up under the weight of so much violence, if you will, right? And because of it, right?
Yeah.
Because of the conditions that we were growing up in, right? The expectation, both men and women, is to stand strong no matter what. You cannot show any cracks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's translated, right, to how we deal with each other.
Wow.
So, for example, right, when we were growing up, we would notice like either somebody in our family, or probably like somebody in the church or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're acting strange.
Yeah.
Right? Now, of course, the answer that we would get is that, well, she's sick in her head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I'm not right.
You're not right. Or it's like, don't talk to this person. They're just leave them alone. You know what I mean? You know, not showing that compassion to say, or again, not even just the compassion, but again, we're not trying. What we've grown up is that anybody who is showing cracks of looking crazy, they're automatically isolated and discarded.
Okay.
Right? Because we're already looked upon as society as dangerous.
Yeah.
And
Already.
they're treating us accordingly. Right?
Yeah.
The last thing we want is to look crazy. Crazy people are for the white people. Right?
That's what we used to say.
That's what we used to see.
Yeah.
If we see somebody that's doing some crazy stuff, we chalk it up to white people.
Straight up. That's it.
That's just it.
Things white people do.
Exactly. Things that white people do.
Hey, man, make it plain.
Right? So we have, whether directly or indirectly, said we're not going to be them.
Yeah. Yeah.
We may have to deal with some stuff, but the last thing we are is not going to be them.
And I used to reflect a lot on stage in stand-up comedy.
Right.
They'd be like, you know what, man, I used to see this people do this stuff, man, you know it wasn't no black people did that.
Yeah.
You know, because that's how we say. We
like,
make the association.
It's like, listen, we may be going through some stuff, but we ain't doing that.
Yeah.
We ain't jumping onto that boat.
No, we ain't doing that.
Like 33 away, and we figure we might like reach that boat. No, we ain't doing that. right?
We're not gonna go diving in the water in like sub-zero
or
temperatures.
like shark-infested waters.
No.
Nobody's gonna do
We're
that.
We're good.
But
but we'll go. We know they will.
no, they'll do that.
Yep.
We won't do that.
Yep.
But the thing about it is that what it has done is done, unfortunately, a lot more harm than it does any good. Because it's kind of like sweeping dirt under the rug. Yeah. Right? You didn't really clean up the place. You just put the dirt somewhere else. You understand what I mean? That's basically what we have done. Yeah. Is that we have taken that type of mentality and try to hide it, suppress it as much as possible so that we look like we're standing on our own 2 feet. Yeah. And it's becoming a lot more heavier now. So, with the advent of social media. Yeah. Social media is a big culprit when it comes to mental illness.
I agree. Right? Because it's a lot of imagery stuff. And
it's a lot of imagery. And it's a lot of stuff that...
A lot of fake stuff, too.
But that's the thing. Yeah. It's a lot of the fake stuff that not only we portray, but what we see other people portray.
Yeah. And then follow fashion.
Follow fashion 100%. Yeah. That's why it's like, you know what? It's not surprising when a person who may have hundreds of thousands or millions of followers and they struggle. Oh, man. Like struggle with their own anxiety, depression, social isolation. Yeah. They struggle hard. Yeah. But again, because they want to portray a certain way, right? That's almost like the way that they cope. Young people are having to deal with this on a regular basis.
Goodness. It's
and
so
that's why,
hard.
like, it is real out here. Yeah. Like, I mean, the amount of people that have no problems tearing down somebody on social media. It is real.
And it's not because if they're, like you said, they have no problem. They're not going to hide it. Their name be all blasted on it too.
You know why? Yeah. Because they're hiding behind a computer.
Of course.
Like, if you said what you said to me in person, there's a fight.
The same thing you text. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm right here. I'm right here.
Say it now.
Say it right here. See this? Right here.
Say it with your chest.
Say it right now and see what I don't do.
Yeah. I hope you have the same energy.
Yo, bring that energy. Okay? Like what? Twitter fingers? Trigger fingers?
Yeah. One of my boys said something like, yo, actually, what he would say, you're a studio gangster.
Yeah. No, that's it.
You talk so big in the studio, but once you're out here on the street, what?
Say something. Say something.
You ain't no gangster.
That's the profile that we try to portray. But it masks who like we really are. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. And sorry to cut you, but to add to it is the whole ghetto fabulous lifestyle as well. The whole, like, I'll dress a certain way. I'll wear all these bling bling. I'll put all this stuff on now just so you can see me like this, and that's it. But all that stuff is just a weird facade.
Well, it's interesting, right? If you're gonna touch on music, let's touch a little bit on music.
Let's go on. All right, let's switch it up and talk about music.
Because I was telling somebody this. So when we look at music, right? Music has listen, man. Music has had such a profound effect and impact on society since the beginning of how music has been created. Yeah. Music is, and I want you to hear this, music is the language of the soul. Interesting. Right? Music is the language of the soul.
You know what? I think you just touched on something. Write that down.
So because of it, right? Yeah. Music has such therapeutic traits to it. Yeah. But what artists, whether you be a singing artist, musician, you could be a poet, you could be a dancer. Yeah. You can be a visual artist, right? Now music has always been in the forefront of telling the story or telling the narratives when it comes to our well-being, our mental health, our mental illness. You know, you look at people like, for example, Eminem, right? Eminem, when you listen to his stuff, he has no problem being real about the type of life he lives. Yeah. And he's crazy.
Completely.
But a lot of his songs resonate because there's enough people that have been through or think like how Eminem thinks. Okay. Right?
That's true. Okay.
I'm old school, so let's look at Scarface.
Scarface.
Right?
Yep.
So Scarface, when you listen to a lot of his tracks, half the songs he's talking about are like depression, right? Anxiety, suicidal thoughts. You know what I mean? And we're talking about like 90s.
Yo.
Right?
You were saying the early 90s too.
Like we're talking about early 90s. You know what I mean? Like mid 90s at least.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's out there saying, yo, this is what I've been thinking about from like whole time. This is what I've been thinking about.
Yeah.
You look at a person like Mary J. Blige.
All right.
Right? Okay? People gravitated to Mary J. Blige because she was not, she was really not afraid to talk about like some of the stuff that she's been through.
Like real relationship issues.
You know what I mean?
Life
like we bump it, but like listen, she's had drinking addictions, like drug addictions, all that. Like she's had messed up relationships, abusive relationships.
Oh my God.
But people will bump, how can I love somebody else when I can't love love myself enough to know when it's time.
Yeah. Lyrics.
Time to let go. Yo, ladies, sing that.
It's an anthem.
It's the anthem. But again, she's talking it from a place where a lot of people in that situation can identify.
It's real.
Right? And even more so, heck, even in gospel music.
Oh, man.
Right? Nowadays, gospel artists are actually talking about real stuff, like addressing things like depression, addressing things like anxiety and how that feels, right? And just to talk through it, things like addiction, because as much as we're all on the Holy Ghost dance, we're dealing with people that are still dealing with stuff, right? And I say all that to say where a lot of these artists are coming from and how powerful music is, it's almost like becomes like the perfect marriage to present like this is what it is. You know what I mean? Like even for artists that are even struggling through COVID, like it's a hard situation. You know what I mean? It's like as artists, like where you dependent on certain gigs to happen, now you even more so have to kind of make something out of yourself in the hopes that somebody will catch on.
Hopes. Yep.
You know what I mean? Like you're pretty much promoting your stuff. Yeah. Well, not to say that it hasn't, because people have been putting out stuff for free. Yeah. But now it's like, yo, I'm going to have to do double the time or double the work for free in the hopes that somebody will be like, I want to take you on. Yeah. Yeah. It's the hustle right there. Yeah, man. It's crazy. But again, this is how mental health affects like a lot of things from sports to, again, within our community, to sports, to music. Yeah, music. Yeah. It's just a big thing right now.
It totally is. It totally is. You mentioned about the gospel stuff. A song came to my mind on more of the video too. Kirk Franklin, Imagine Me.
Yep. Yo.
That was a...
Right. Yeah. But he's explained his testimony so many times about like the molestations. The abandonment, being adopted, the abuse. Yeah. Having to deal with a lot of porn addictions.
Yeah, that led to that. That was a big thing. And then he coming out with his wife beside him talking about it. And then even the church, like, blasted him like, oh, how dare you.
Right. But like, there are many people within the church. Yeah. And I said this.
And they're not talking, right?
Well, you see, and this is the thing. Where things are at now is that now, if we're talking about the church, because, yes, I go to church as well. I used to be a music director as well. Yeah. So.
Drummer for life.
More like an organist, really.
You're organist, me drummer for life.
But here's the thing where churches are now having to come face to face with a lot of social issues or things that are affecting people in the church. Now, obviously, people have their opinions about the church or whatever. I'm not going to sit here and diss it because you know what? When we're talking about from a spiritual sense, that has to be important, and the church plays a huge role
completely
in forming the spiritual mind, the spiritual body, if you will. For a lot of people. So I ain't gonna diss that, but what I will say is that for the longest time, we've been very slow to address things and address it properly.
I totally agree.
You know what I mean? And that's where. Now, what I've been seeing is that a lot of churches are starting to have these now open discussions.
Yeah, and focus groups and conversations.
Exactly. Because people that come into your congregation, whether they're in leadership or not, are still human, right? And they struggle with different things.
At different times.
At different times.
Different ways.
That means sometimes there may have to be some adjustments to different approaches. I'm a proponent right now of, yes, pray and get support.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Pray, but see a counselor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because prayer is important. That's your foundation. But it's also important to be able to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Right?
It's important.
Because, you know, we don't do life in isolation.
No.
We cannot do life in isolation.
No.
Right?
No.
Like, I can't live this world, even though as much as I'm a bit of an introvert, I realize I need to have that connection with other people. See, this is what COVID unfortunately has done, was try to make us very disconnected.
Yeah, for some dumb reason.
Right? And again, that's why people are just like, yo, bun a mask, you know, do whatever. It's like, bun COVID, I'm going to still live my life or whatever. Listen, there's debate about that. That's another discussion on in and of itself. But the reality is that COVID has exacerbated the mental health or mental illness component because now we're forced to live in isolation in fear of people getting sick and possibly dying.
Keyword, fear of.
Right?
Yeah.
And so,
keywords,
and so because of it, right, because coming back to that whole church aspect, right, there has to be a realization that people are suffering in isolation.
Yeah.
So now what can we do to help support and address that? You have leaders of big mega churches committing suicide, right? You know what I mean? And it's not to say that, you know, sometimes like there wasn't help or whatever. I'm pretty sure like there was some support.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that to say, listen, the reality is that because we're human beings and because we deal with trauma, we need help.
Yeah.
And you cannot think that this person can handle the weight of something on their own. Because the minute that you do that is the minute that you put unrealistic expectations on that person.
And you get
even
crushed.
coming back to the black community.
Yep.
There are expectations of us, both internally and externally. And it's hard to do.
Yeah.
It is hard to be a man and have to stand up emotionally when everybody's coming down on you.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? It is hard when you have to figure out stuff and get no help. Or not even get no help, but you're afraid to ask for help because you were taught to ask for help. You know what I mean? You didn't have a safe space to inquire help. What you were expected to do was go out there and deal with the situation and come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, you may get a few bruises, you may get cut here, but just make sure you come back.
Yeah.
We ain't going to talk about really what you're going through or whatever.
Man.
Because then we ain't got time for that.
No,
we ain't got time for that.
No boy has a pity party. We don't have time.
That's the thing. Party. The world is not like having a pity party for you.
Dude.
So you just go out there, do what you got to do, come back.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That's dangerous.
Yeah.
It's dangerous. Because somewhere along the way, when we're doing that journey, right? We need we're going to fall on our face. Who's going to help us to pick ourselves back up? And if we can't learn to create those spaces, even within our communities, right? If we can't learn to create those spaces where it's okay and to talk about it, to work through it, to have at least an acceptance of the journey that a person's going through, guaranteed, all that we're seeing here right now will just continue. Yeah. Because again, I personally believe most of the violence that you see, you know, out there in the streets, the domestic violence that have been spiking, right? The increase in mental illness when it comes to suicide, depression, anxiety. Yeah. You know what I mean? All these things are attributed to the fact that there wasn't a safe space for people to actually deal with the situation. And vent and get support. And get support.
Be around like-minded.
Exactly.
Dude, that helps the whole commodity. It helps. Builds some strength. Exactly. That's a whole iron sharpening iron kind of concept. Exactly. Man.
And so that's why it's important. Like for me being in this thing, yeah, I'm a musician. Yeah, I work, you know, in the fitness industry. Yes, I work in education. But the biggest thing for me in terms of my heart is to see our people. Yeah. From a mental health perspective, stand up. Of course. But stand up the right way. Oh, man.
The right way.
Yeah,
Man.
we have to stand up the right way and support each other.
So, okay, as you just mentioned it and just touch on it, getting to stand up the right way. How would you let that be presented to someone who doesn't understand what it is? I guess we're trying to say that we're telling people to get support, find support the right way and everything. Now the person hears that. Okay, fine. You know what? I'm actually going to do it now. I just hear these brothers talking. You know, I'm going to do it. Now what's next?
You know what? Here's a couple of things. So we want to make sure that, and I guess it starts with us as individuals. If a person comes to you with something, right? You need to make sure that you hear it from a very not only objective perspective, but from a very empathetic perspective.
Okay.
Right? So if I'm coming to you and letting you know that right now I can't sleep because I found out that my marriage or my relationship was a complete scam or it was a complete sham, right?
Yep.
That hurts me emotionally. If I'm telling you this, I need you to identify or at least be there with me in my emotions.
Yeah.
It may not have to be where you have to try to solve the situation.
That's right. That's a good point.
You know what I mean? Because we're always quick to try to solve something.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just need somebody to just hear us out.
Just hear you out.
You know what I mean? So you need to take the stance where it's like, I'm going to embrace how you feel. That's step number one. Then step number two is, okay, how can we move forward? Because there's certain things that you may not be able to solve. Yeah. But this is where it's like, okay, let me see if I can call up somebody
to get help.
Right, to get that help. And I say this for even families and communities. We need to start doing that. Yeah. Right? Let's see who we can call. Let's see if there's a pastor we can call, to help deal with this. Let's see if there's a mental health counselor that we know, that can help this out. Because there's a lot of referrals right now out there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And like I said, there needs to be a lot more, especially black male therapists out there. Yeah. There has to be, there has to be just to make this equal.
I agree. I agree.
But it starts there. Yeah. And let me backtrack. It's also important for men to also, even before we talk, let's take responsibility, right? Because I get it. We may not have had the greatest upbringing. Yeah. Yeah. For most of us. And the trauma that we face has been a lot. Yeah. But you still have to take the responsibility to at least seek some sort of help.
It's a must.
So that you can change. Yeah. Because you know what it's like? It's like if say that the doctor, if say that there's something like for example, you got a pain in your side, right? And you don't know where it's coming from. The last thing you want to do is continue to sit with that pain for years and years on end. Because if it's treatable, you don't have to feel that pain anymore. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Why would you put yourself in a situation when you're sitting with pain? You know it's pain. You know it's there. Let's try to see if we can get rid of it or at least identify what it is and treat it. Same thing you need to do as a man, particularly black men. Yeah. You need to take responsibility and deal with the stuff that you have to deal with. It's not easy. No. Because when you have to unearth some stuff, like that's heavy, right? But it's important to take that responsibility because you like to think you're going to be able to handle it on your own. No, you won't. Because at some point, that behavior is going to show up in another way. Yeah. Somebody's going to get hurt. Yeah. Somebody's going to get damaged. Yeah. Because of your negligence to actually deal with the situation, take responsibility. Yeah. And that's where it comes from. So again, coming back to the original question, how do we stand? You need to look at these steps, right? Take responsibility. Yeah. And the person that you speak to, they need to be able to hear from a place of compassion and objectivity, right?
That's interesting.
Right?
I like that.
I don't care if I know you or not. Yeah. You're dealing with something that I never knew that you had. Yeah. It was actually, not to belabor the point, but one of my friends, I remember we had almost like a defining moment. Okay. Right? He told me some heavy stuff. Wow. that I never thought he would have dealt with.
Okay.
Like I never like in a million years, I never thought he was struggling with that. The joke is I was struggling with the same thing.
Oh, wow.
I was struggling with the same thing.
Wow.
It was from then that me and him have become best friends up until this date.
Isn't that interesting?
Right.
That's so interesting about how you just talk about that, and then earlier we talk about you were with like-minded people.
Right.
That helps, because now you like, oh, well, I went through it, you went through it.
Exactly.
So if there's a down day for you, hey, pick
right.
you up.
It's
And
the
vice
accountability.
versa. Right.
Right. Exactly. That's the thing. It's the accountability.
Yeah.
Right. So it's stuff like that. What I mean by being able to stand the right way.
Yeah.
Right. Even if we do those, if we just even do those things, like how much better as a community we would be.
Oh man. Like
Because
on a whole, that'd be ridiculous. Like, man,
because you know why? Because we've actually created a safe space for
Yeah.
our own people
Yes.
to actually feel like
yeah,
I belong
within our own people.
within our own
Yeah.
people, regardless of gender,
Yeah.
regardless of age, regardless of
Yeah.
social economic status,
Yep. Yep.
regardless of sexual orientation,
Yep.
regardless of religion.
Yep.
We are actually in a space
Yeah.
where I can actually talk to somebody and not feel judged or feel condemned for it.
Mm-hmm.
If we did that as a community,
Yeah.
we are way ahead of
Oh
everybody
my
else.
God, one shot.
Like nobody gonna talk to us.
None.
Right?
Oh my God. Oh
Like
Lord.
nobody's gonna talk to us. But again,
Yeah.
it starts there.
Yeah. To touch on what the fact you saying that no one can touch us because we are such trend setters. We are like the innovators of everything. We are
Yup.
like fashion of anything, music of
Yup.
anything, sports of anything. Like the list goes on. Like we can talk about anything. We are really literally the trend center. They created the terminology urban has been kind of changed because of us trying to
Right.
use it for us instead of like
Yeah.
what the word was actually meant for. So that it makes so much sense once we decide to like really come together and really do all that, really support each other with love,
Yeah.
with actual care, with the mindset of building each other up
Yes.
together.
Yes.
Like that's
Yes.
ridiculous. Like we're talking about the men's health, mental health issues, but then on the other side of like women mental health issues,
God,
like with that same mindset that if everyone came together, what
But
power
that's-
would that be?
But that's the thing. It's like, you know what? I would even say
Yeah,
if we as men got our stuff together,
yeah.
a lot of the stuff that the women had to deal with,
Yeah.
you won't see much of
Oh
it.
well, okay. I would totally agree with that because a lot of what women have to go through in mental health is because of us.
It's
Yeah,
because of us.
of what we do, what we don't do,
Yep.
what we do too much of.
Yep.
Yep. Where we're lacking.
Yep.
Where we profess that we think we're great at.
Yep.
We're so not.
And a lot of the times of just kind of things that we say to our women.
Yeah. Oh my
Right?
gosh. Putting
Like,
them down.
Yeah,
Not supporting them.
it's
Yep.
ridiculous, right?
Yep.
We have taken the trauma that we experienced, right, and
Yep.
unfortunately placed it on
Dashed
them.
on them.
We dashed it on them.
Yep.
And so because of it, right, like a lot of our women have had to endure like a lot of traumatic experience at our hands.
Yeah.
By our hands. And
Yeah.
yet they're the same ones
Yeah.
that will still fight
Oh my
and have
God.
died for us.
For the same one that's mistreating them.
Right.
Yep.
Like we
Strange,
crap
but
on
it's true.
our women
Yep.
way too much.
Way too much.
Way too much.
Yep.
And they're the same ones that
Yep.
will be like on the front lines when it
Yep.
comes to racial discrimination, economic issues,
Yep.
all that mental health. They're the same ones on the front line.
Front line.
We need to do better.
Yep.
We
Yep.
need to take that responsibility and get ourselves fixed so that we can help in the healing process.
I totally agree.
That's
it's a
what
must.
it is. You know what I mean?
And I really hope that, those watching can get that from us. Like, like it's one to say it and then it's one to actually live it and do it.
Exactly.
But it
100%.
starts with saying it and believing it and then going after it.
Yep.
Like we really have to do that. Like, it's just it's a must. I do see a lot of the pain and the results of that pain when we talk about, if I go touch on women's mental health, from what we push on them, from a mother's point of view, and then when they're dealing with their young men and women, their children, and then like they come to like full circle to like someone like myself, like to do sports. I'm coaching them or I'm training them, and they come into my facilities and I have to deal with certain things. I'm like, how is it that you're so jacked up? And I'm like, man. And then I do the whole, connecting the dots kind of thing. And I'm like, oh.
Right.
You
This is where it starts.
You can blame it on the whole single parent homes or the no father in the household or whoever is in the household as a father is a deadbeat dad or the situation. So much situations where that's concerned. It's just falls on him not coming up to par. Some of them are missing from the home, whether they're be incarcerated or they just lost their lives.
Or some of them are there, but they're not present.
Oh God, not present at all.
You know what I mean? Like they're physically there, but they're not present in the lives of their kids or even their families.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's again some of the trauma that's compounded on a lot of our women, particularly our black women.
Yeah.
Which again, if we had addressed properly how we go about stuff.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the stuff that happens within our community, you wouldn't see much of it.
Oh, we know that. Yeah.
And it helped. And on top of it, the strength of our community would be like there would be no group.
Man,
I don't care. No group would be able to touch.
We know that.
We can't touch us because we already have such a strong unit.
Yep.
Such a strong unit that's practically impenetrable. I can't even say it properly, but you understand what I'm saying.
Penetrate. Well,
you can't penetrate.
You can't penetrate.
You can't penetrate.
We can't say it too proper. That's why we can't say it right. If you say it that way, you can say it proper.
Right.
Yeah. Penetrate it.
I mean, women's mental health has been something that has been documented because the stats show that women are more likely to attempt to harm themselves, even though men have been more successful. But women will attempt more often, which is not surprising, especially if you look at a lot of the precarious situations that they've constantly had to be in, more often not by choice.
Man, that is such a sad but again true stat. It's so. Oh man, I was just thinking that certain women's movement worldwide, that could now be just women in general, wouldn't happen. Like a Me Too movement wouldn't happen if men had taken care of their mental health issues and stepped up
and taken responsibility for their actions, right? Because again, the Me Too movement was an outcry of a lot of the abuse that a lot of women had to face over the years, and now they're coming up to the forefront. You know what I mean? And even if it's not attributed exactly to mental illness, again, it's just certain behaviors from a toxic masculinity perspective that perpetuate why, for example, men will sexually assault or create a situation where it's so uncomfortable that's hard for women to actually talk about it in fear of like either losing their jobs or being killed,
abused,
or some sort of abuse, or just like
lose their children, maybe that could be
being slandered.
Oh man,
right? It's stuff like that happens quite a bit. You know what I mean? So you are right. Like some of the movements, again, when movements happen, they happen because there's just certain things that have been happening that certain people just enough's enough. Enough's enough. That's why, like for example, Black Lives Matter. Enough's enough. We're being abused.
And it's been enough from time.
It's been enough for centuries, right? Again, this is what we have had to grow up with.
Right.
The violence on our bodies, this is what we've been conditioned to somehow survive or quote unquote thrive in a system that is doing black bodies harm.
Intentionally.
Intentionally.
And systematically.
100%. Which now we need to do more to dismantle those systems, because once you dismantle those things, more than likely the stuff that we endure for our children and our children's children won't be as such.
Nope.
You know what I mean? This is now what we're fighting for. It's not even just for us, it is for our future generations, so that hopefully they can actually live in a world where they're treated with equity and treated equally, and they have the same opportunities as every other person of every race, creed, and color. That's what we're fighting for.
I have a dream, man.
You know,
Definitely.
yeah. But I mean, I said too much. So
No, yeah. This is not too much. This is stuff that had to be said.
yeah.
This is really real stuff, and I'm glad we were able to talk about this.
Really appreciate it, man.
These are topics that doesn't get talked on long enough and deep enough to instill change and to completely make people think twice, three times, four times, and until you start really making some adjustments.
Yep.
It's a must. And like you mentioned about, it's not talked enough. It's there, it's talked, but not enough.
Right.
It has to be talked a little bit more, and that goes with in the homes. I can't trust the schools as much to do what we want them to do. So I say from the homes. Get back to that whole concept of when it was a whole community raising up a child.
Yep. Takes a village. Yep.
Completely. And if everyone does that concept, then it's not just the child that's going to be raised up. It's now each other and each other's household.
Right.
And the effects will be just a wave of complete positivity.
Right.
And us seeing our true strength.
Yep.
And that would be beautiful to see.
Yep. 100%.
That'd be beautiful to see. No, I don't want to just see it in a movie.
No, we gotta see it in real life.
You know what I mean?
Straight.
Yeah, I can't forget that one scene in Malcolm X where I remember I watched that in like this home theater system at a good friend of mine, and big screen, but the sound system was heavy, and the sound when his hand went like this, and the leather of his hand went like this when he pointed. Or no, was it this one? Whatever it was, the finger that telling all the men them they'll turn, they all start walking. I heard the leather glove, like the sound of like and then what happened after was very profound when the police officer says, "No one man should have that much power." That made me think. But it was a reflection of not just him as a one man. That was actually all of us that have that power.
Exactly.
But if we all realize that,
man,
Malcolm X won't just be one X, won't be one man. That would be all of us.
Yep.
So, man, black mental health.
Yep, straight.
Is something we all have to, deal with and build on and strengthen and stop shying away from it.
No, we can't.
Completely. Like
we can't. Like you're killing yourself when you try to. You're killing yourself. So we can't do that.
Yep. We have to do a better job in teaching ourselves and empowering ourselves and helping our families, our women.
Yeah.
And another level is our children. We empower. We have to make sure we check on our children constantly.
Right.
Because that's a scary place, and to leave them dormant.
Right.
Man, this was a great conversation.
Appreciate it, man. I thank you guys. Thank you for allowing me the platform, man.
Yeah, man.
To talk about this. It's important. You know. But I guess before I go, just in case anybody wants to reach me.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get to that for sure.
Fine.
No. Go ahead. You might as well go ahead.
No. We gotta do the formalities. Let's do the formalities. Let's do the formalities. You're the host. Let's do the formalities, okay? Like I went ahead. I apologize. Shame on you. My bad.
Ain't no real formalities, man. We like to flow nicely here.
I just want to make sure that we do. My fault. I was trying to promote myself too early. That was selfish of me. I don't want to come across as like, it's me. I'm stopped. So you know what? I'm gonna humble myself. You know what I mean? I'm just my bad.
It is about you, man. Sure. Well, we're gonna do that right now. We're doing it right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to make sure that you remember Jermaine. We're definitely going to be having him on the show often because we have other topics to talk about.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
For real.
We are in a band together, and you'll be hearing that music coming out soon.
Better.
Yeah, man. That's a completely next thing that I work on that for sure.
For real.
So go ahead, man. I want you to tell the people where they can find you,
so
what they can say, and if they have any questions and follow-ups and stuff.
All right. So if anybody wants to follow me, I got two IG handles. So my personal IG handle would be Jerms. That's JERMS 394.
Yeah.
plus I'm also in this group called Black People Check-In.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a dope group. We usually do our live podcast every Thursday.
Thursdays, yes.
So we got some things on the work, but it's Black People Check-In, which is BLACKPPL. Check-in, right? Check-in, all one word. Okay,
Yeah.
so Black People Check-In.
Yeah.
And you can also follow me on Twitter, also
Yeah.
at Germs394. So JERMS394. So you can catch me there. And then obviously if you have questions or
Yeah.
I'm available for workshops and stuff, like
That's good.
you know, I can do the whole nine. But this is a passion of mine.
Yeah.
And well, by the way, I'm actually also in the process of applying for my master's degree.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know how the fund's gonna work, but you know, if you want to donate, I'll have like what is it, a GoFundMe page?
GoFundMe.
I'll create a GoFundMe
Yes.
page.
Yes.
You know, help a brother out. You know, want to become a therapist, help my own community. So, you know, I'll see if I can try to put that out there
Yes,
as
yeah.
well.
Put it out there. Put it out there.
You know, but at the same time, you know, Lord, you know, you earn my prayer.
He's listening.
earn my
He's
prayer.
listening.
You know, but yeah, just catch me on those, and you know, like I'm available. But these are topics I'd love to discuss.
Yeah.
And it's not even just the discussion of it. It's now from the discussion to let's see how we as a community can benefit from actually now being open, talking about and supporting those that deal with mental health.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there, you know, that are doing their stuff, right?
Which is good.
Which is great.
Yeah.
So we need to now like connect. We need to bring more people along so
Yeah.
that they can receive the type of services and the type of support that they can get for their own, you know, mental health.
Yeah.
Even if they're not dealing with a specific diagnosis.
Yeah.
As
that's
I've always
fine.
said before, it's never wrong to do sort of like a mental checkup, because if we're doing our physical checkups, right,
Yeah.
even when things are okay, but we still do our physical checkups, same thing we need to do for our mental checkups.
Yeah.
Never wrong to find a counselor or a therapist or some sort of support,
Yeah.
so that your mind will be at ease in a good space.
That's good to tell people that.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I really hope everyone actually takes heed to that. You know.
Well, they have about almost a 2-hour conversation. 2 hours with us too.
You can listen to this and you'll get your mental health check right there.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But hopefully, again, glad that we're talking about
Yeah,
this.
man.
And again, for those that are watching this, you know, I will say, and this is my final thought, you know, no one can take care of yourself but you, right?
That's good.
And the most important thing, the most valuable thing, and the most vulnerable thing that you have is your heart, right? So you need to make sure that you can nurture it, take care of it, protect it at all costs.
Yeah.
Because then that will set the standard as to how you go about in life.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that. That's really good.
Yeah.
That's really good. I like that. I hope people listen to that. Man.
Yeah. So appreciate the invite.
Yeah, man. Wow. Mr. Jermaine, man, thank you so much for gracing the orange mic.
Thank you.
We want to thank you again for being on the show. This is a wonderful episode. It feels really good. I like that. Remember, like we talked about having provocative, having informative, and also even hilarious conversations. So we just had to kind of go all over the place, which is cool. But the real issues was dealt with and exposed, which is good. And we don't want people suffering in silence. You know what I mean?
No.
That happens a lot. A lot of us, man, we cover things up. We hide it. We do things. Guys go to the bar, they go to the club, they go get a new car, or they get new clothes, and they get new girls. They think that's all the answers, and that's definitely not the answer, man. Deal with the issue, and then
deal with the issue.
Yeah. So once again, thank you so much for being on the Orange Mic, sir. I appreciate it. Yeah, man. That's you.
Yeah, man. Bless up. COVID up, yes. COVID, yes.
Whatever.
COVID up.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, man.
Everybody, once again, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for watching the Orange Mic. And we want to make sure that you stay tuned to all of our future episodes. and all the other things we're going to be doing on the other Orange Mic show, because of course this is the conversations on the Orange Mic. Please to watch the other show, which is going to be, of course, the Orange Mic Live, which will be an artist showcase where we'll be showcasing different artists, music, dance, spoken word, rappers. Doesn't matter who it is, as long as it's in the arts and education and stuff like that, and entertainment. We're gonna make sure we try to showcase it here on the show. So once again, I'm Kirk Berry. This was Jermaine, and once again, thank you for watching the Orange Mic.
Yes, sir.